you again for accepting this today. And yeah, I don't want. It's all over to you. But
Okay,
thank you.
thank you very much. So, good afternoon, everyone. Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Today we'll be discussing how you can build your AI agent in Microsoft Azure using the Azure AI Agent Surface. So, let me first introduce myself. So, my name is Ziggy Zulueta. For those who have LinkedIn, you may add me up in this LinkedIn profile above. I'm a LinkedIn Learning instructor. So, LinkedIn is actually a subsidiary of Microsoft. As you very well know, most of the content that you have in Microsoft Learn, which is pretty much what you call the Bible of Microsoft when it comes to everything about Microsoft technologies, is pretty much text-based. And we've gotten feedback that it's a little bit boring just to read around text and do some labs. So with LinkedIn Learning, what we do over here is that we create a lot of instructional videos. So I have created a lot of videos already, specifically on Microsoft AI, and it's now available in a global platform through the LinkedIn Learning platform. And I have already around 8 courses available, all focused on different Microsoft AI technologies. So I'm a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional in AI. So it's a technical award given to experts all over the world. And as you notice, many technologies in Microsoft, the MVP award that I'm given to is in the field of AI. So I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer. So that's what I practically do for a living these days. I provide a lot of talks, a lot of trainings um, to help people get certified to learn more about our technologies. And I have a couple of certifications, among them the Azure Solutions Architect, Power Platform Solutions Architect, Azure Engineer, among others. So I did mention that I'm a LinkedIn Learning instructor, so I'd just like to share with you one of the courses that I have. So this is the Microsoft Azure AI Essentials Professional Certificate. What makes this course unique versus other LinkedIn courses is that unlike other courses wherein after you complete a course, you get a LinkedIn completion badge. With this course, after you complete it, you have the opportunity to take an exam. And then once you pass the exam, you get an official professional certificate from Microsoft in AI. So you can scan this QR code, and then from there, you can get a 1 month free subscription to get this professional AI certificate. So heading over to our AI agent service, let me just give you a use case. So what you have here is a company called Adventure Ready. So this is a company that I fictitiously created. So all of these images that I'm showing you, this logo that I'm showing you is not a real company. It's something that I created through AI, through Copilot. And in this company called Adventure Ready, they have they want to create a website that will provide the following information for their clients. One, it can provide their own product info. So they're actually selling, they're a travel company, so they're selling travel products. And they even have partner restaurant recommendations. So once they recommend a restaurant, they can probably give their own code, and then from there they can get a percentage of the revenue that's came from that restaurant visit. Or it can be the case that you can provide weather information or about the budget for a specific trip, and then from there they can actually book hotels and flights with specific hotels and flight partners based on that budget, or even book product orders since they are selling their own travel products. And as an example, so this is what would the travel products would look like. So for example, they have here their travel products in a Word document in which they have all of this information. So by the way, this is also AI generated. So I created quite a number of products that they want to sell to their customers. So heading over back to our presentation, the current issue right now with large language models is that let's say you have a user that will ask for luggage recommendations. The LLM will provide the response, but the issue is the response will not be that what the company would like, because the large language model is actually trained on internet data and is actually using internet data. So in this case, it's providing Samsonite, Tumi, Delsey. So these are pretty much popular brands out there in which the company is not selling because we have their own products. So now the question is, how can our agent help us with this? So I'd like to demonstrate to you this agent, which is built with Chainlit and is deployed in Azure App Service using the Azure AI Agent Service. So let me show you what it looks like first in the front end and how it operates. And then from there, we'll discuss how we can actually set this up at the back end. So this is my, my Azure App Service. And let's click on this link. So as you can see here, you have this website in which I have my logo here, and then you have starter, what do you call this? Starter questions here. When you click on it, it will ask, information. So what is the weather like in New York? And then from there, you have the agent running the service, and it's going to provide an answer. So these are hard-coded information. By the way, I'll show you later that this is not something that we're getting from the internet. And then from there, we'll ask, okay, what is the budget in that city if I stay there for 4 days? And then from there, it's going to get information about the budget. And then, so it's processing, it's actually looking for information. And then from there, let's say, okay, where can I eat there? And it's going to provide restaurant recommendations. So these would be restaurants that the travel company is actually a partner of. So these are well, I'll show you later that these are our own information. And then from here, I'll ask, okay, I need a laptop bag. Do you have any? And in which case, this information is actually looking at Azure A Search. So I will not discuss how we will build the index because I do have another course in LinkedIn just to discuss how to build an index using Azure A Search programmatically, but I can share you the code later. So based on this query, it's going to look at our Azure A Search index, and then from there provide actually, there's actually more than one laptop bag. We have actually 4, and it's providing you sources of where it's coming from. And then from there, okay, if you want to restart the conversation, you will start here, and then you can see all the starter. So you'd probably be wondering, my gosh, this is actually difficult to program because number one, this what do you call this? This interface here, the chat interface is actually, it's in the history, it's hard to build it. No, it's not. It's going to be very easy right now with Chainlit, hosted on Azure App Service. Okay, so that is the demonstration. So by the way, I'm not sure if there will be any questions during the time. I'll not be able to see any questions, but let's have some question and answer at the end because I'm showing my screen right now. I'll not be able to see everything. So heading back, before we discuss the Azure Agent Service, let's actually discuss what an agent is. So there's the long definition, this coming from Semantic Kernel, and the short definition. So let's go with the long definition first. It's a semi-autonomous software that can be given a goal and will work to achieve that goal without knowing in advance exactly how it's going to do that or what steps it's going to take. So that's the lengthy definition, but I'll go with the shorter one. It's actually very easy to understand. It's a system that uses a large language model to decide the control flow of an application. So what do we mean by this? Let's talk about how we actually programmed back in the day. So I hope that you probably somehow, seen, or if you may not have coded before an application, you probably understand, what your experience would look like back then. So you have a user. So let me just get my laser pointer here. You have a user accessing an application. And in that application, you'll see a menu-based system. You'll see here, okay, the application can provide the weather, can book hotels, can book a flight. But at the back end, what typically developers would do back in the day, they will have menu-based, or even until today, those are not using agents. They'll have a menu-based if and else conditions system. They'll have a tree here wherein please enter your choice. You'll ask the user to enter their choice. If they enter 1, they'll get the weather. If they enter 2, they get the hotel. They're able to book a hotel. And then if they click on number 3, they'll be able to book a flight. And let's say that they decide to click on number 2. From here, there'll be another set of options. Please select your country. Is it USA? Is it France? Is it Australia? So with a non-agent system, based on how developers would do it back in the day, or even till now, is that they will do an if and else type of situation. Okay, so that's the non-agent system. Now, with an agent system, what will happen is you still have that tree, you still have that different sets of, as you call it, flows. Okay, but what will happen is you have a large language model now that will decide what to do. You'll remove in your code that if and else statement, and you will somehow inject a large language model that will decide based on the query, based on the interaction, the large language model will decide what flow to take. Okay, so I know it sounds magical, but it actually is right now. So I'll show it to you through code. So the agent here needs to accomplish three things. One is it needs to reason over a provided business process. It needs to retrieve context to complete the process and perform an action for the end user. So for example, I will ask, what is the weather like in New York? Based on that specific query, or even I say not even weather, is it hot there in New York now? Based on that specific context, so that's retrieving context, the system is able to provide a reason that, okay, based on that question, we actually need to get weather. And based on your question, we're actually looking at the weather in New York, just getting the actual place, because in that query, you asked about it. And then from there, you provide an action for the end user. Okay. So how does the Adventure Ready travel agent work? Okay. So there's actually a lot of ways to do this. There's actually LangGraph, LangChain, AutoGen, semantic kernel, Crew AI, and all of that stuff, to be honest. But now we're trying to simplify it with the Azure AI Agent Service. So what does this Azure AI Agent Service do? Number one, I'll show you quickly. You can rapidly develop and automate your systems using the Azure AI Agent Service. And you can even demonstrate this through the portal, just to demonstrate what it looks like. So there's a portal to demonstrate, just to show clients what it look like, and then you can do easily with coding in order to deploy it in a real production setting, similar to what I've showed you deployed in an Azure App Service. Then it has a lot of extensive data connections, especially with Microsoft. So it has connections with Azure AI, Azure Functions. It has connections with Azure AI Search, connections with other different Azure services, amongst other third-party services as well. And then you have a lot of flexible model selection. So not only do you need to use Azure OpenAI, in my demonstration, I'm using Azure OpenAI, but now we can even use a Llama or DeepSeek or any other models that we actually want. So, I mean, before, if we were talking about this before, 2 years ago, we're only focused on Azure OpenAI because of Microsoft's partnership with OpenAI, with their investment in OpenAI. But somehow along the way, there are some cracks that occurred, and then from there, OpenAI is now using other servers that are non-Azure, and Microsoft is now selling other models that are not only OpenAI. And then finally, since we are actually using Azure infrastructure, then you have the enterprise-grade security that comes along with it. So Entra ID, storing it in your data in blob storage, and using Azure AI Search and all of that other stuff. So in the demonstration that I showed you earlier, what was the solution that the system is actually hosted on? So number one, the app is is using Chainlit. So we'll discuss what that is. It's an open source framework written in Python to create AI applications, chat-like applications using LLMs. We have our code logic using the Azure AI Foundry service, Azure AI Agent Service, and we have the whole application hosted in an Azure App Service in a Docker container in a Linux environment. Then we have our agent. The agent will have its own instructions and will have its model. So we'll show you later how to provide the instructions. This is what you call the developer prompt engineering, wherein you provide instructions on how the large language model and the agent will interact, or how it will behave. And then the model that we'll use. In this case, we will use Azure OpenAI. And in the back end, you have a lot of knowledge and tools. So right now, in my demonstration, I have function calling, and Azure AI Search. I disabled the Azure Cosmos DB and the TripAdvisor APIs because I just don't want to incur that much cost for this demonstration for now. But for now, we'll focus on these two knowledge and tools. So how does it actually work at the back end for the AI agent service? So number one, these are the steps that you'll do in your code. Number one, you need to create an agent. Number two, you'll create a thread. So what is nice about this thread, unlike a typical large language model right now, if you use an LLM, every time you're interacting with it, it does not actually get your past messages. So what's happening programmatically is that the developer needs to, number one, every time you make a message, get the history of your messages. And number two, every time the large language model is providing a response, they also need to capture that and build it in a message array programmatically. And the issue back then was that there's a specific context window, a maximum context window that a large language model can take. So if you notice, for those who've been using Copilot or ChatGPT before, up to a certain point, number one, you can input a certain text, a certain amount. You can't input, for example, the whole Bible or one whole novel inside one prompt. So that's one. Number two is that after a series of messages, all of a sudden the system will say, okay, we need to restart. Okay, because what's happening is there's actually a limit that's occurring. So with the agent service, you just need to create a thread and add messages to the thread, and the agent will automatically handle its own maximum context window. So for example, just an example, I don't exactly memorize the context windows for each model. So let's say GPT-4 Omni can only take up to, let's say, 4 million characters at a time. So imagine if you have 100 chat messages and you put all of that history into the context, to the prompt, the system will run out because it's too much. But with the thread and the message, the agent will handle that for you automatically, that history of chat messages. So once you create a thread and you keep on adding messages, these are your user messages and the responses of the agent. You just run the agent, you check the run status, and the agent will display the response. Okay, so that's typically what the steps you'll take when you do programming. From here, we'll define our agent. So the name is Adventure Ready Travel Agent, and we'll provide it instructions. So these are like our system prompt engineering, wherein you provide it instructions on how it should behave. In this case, you're an AI travel agent. You will answer questions about travel based on the tools provided. So in this case, we'll provide it a tool on fetching weather, fetching restaurants, fetching budget, and getting product information. And then from there, you need to choose your model. It can be OpenAI, it can be Llama, it can be Mistral, Cohere, or any other DeepSeek, and all the other models available in Azure AI Foundry. Afterwards, you can provide it knowledge. So this is optional. So the first two are mandatory. Optional, in which you can ground it with Bing search, in which case it will search for information on the internet using Bing. File search would be if you uploaded files up to, I think, 1,000 or more files. You upload it, and the agent will actually use those files to provide answers. This is what you call in before retrieval augmented generation. Then you have Azure AI Search, in which case it will get data from an index. So in this case, these are demonstration. You can also get data from Microsoft Fabric, and you can use other licensed data, in which case I have TripAdvisor. I have a developer API in TripAdvisor, and it's getting information, getting reviews on TripAdvisor, in which case I actually disabled it for this demonstration. Then you have other tools. Function calling is one of the most widely used. I'll demonstrate that. You also have Code Interpreter. So with Code Interpreter, what will happen is the agent will have a sandbox environment in which it can start running Python code. And then from there, you can tell it to create graphs, get information from your database, and create a graph as an example, or get information from the internet and give me a study on Tesla versus NVIDIA versus Microsoft, and where to invest it in what company will invest my stocks in. So that's an example. Then you have Azure Functions as well. So you'll create your own Azure function, and it will connect directly there. Okay. So again, you have all of these. And how will you set it up? You'll set it up in such a way that the large language model, based on your query, will decide which ones to choose. So for example, as you notice, when you asked the question in the demonstration earlier about the weather, it immediately knew that it has a function called weather, and then from there, it will get information from that. When I asked about the product, it immediately got the information from Azure A Search, and then from there provided the response. So you'll create a thread which contains all of the messages, and then from here I'll ask, okay, what is the budget for travel in New York? And the large language model will automatically orchestrate and determine that based on this query, we will use the fetch budget tool. And then from there, based on this query, I know that New York is what we're actually looking for. And then from here, we'll say, okay, here's the travel budget for New York. Or let's say, what is the weather there? So based on the history already, since we're just keep on adding messages here, the term there here would imply New York. And then from there, it will use the fetch weather tool and use the New York as the context. And from there, provide the weather in New York. Okay. So I know it may sound magical or may sound, these terms are somehow something that you're not accustomed to. Let me actually show it to you in a demonstration. Okay, so I'll actually have two demonstrations. So while I'm talking through, let me just open my GitHub Codespaces. So hold on a sec. Yeah. So while it's actually loading, so there's actually two demonstrations that I'll be doing today. One would be showing you through code how you can do function calling in Azure A Search using in the Azure AI Agent Service, and then from there we'll show you how to create an agent using Azure AI Foundry. Okay. So for those who are not on mute, kindly put yourself on mute. Yep. Okay, so let's load. So we're still loading our GitHub Codespaces. Hold on a sec. Let me just get our. Okay. So here's our code. So the first thing you need to do is to go to Azure AI Foundry. So let me just remove this presentation for now. You first need to go to, okay, let's put it here. And let's get my, hold on a sec, my AI Foundry and put it here. So the first thing you need to do is to, number one, set up your Azure OpenAI resource. You need to go to Azure AI Foundry. So we'll go to ai.azure.com. So this is what it will look like, in which you need to create a project. Okay. So you need to create a project, and I'll not demonstrate how to create a project right now, but you need to just, follow this process of, setting up a project name, setting up a hub, and then click create. That's pretty much what it'll look like. And then from here, we'll actually have a project. Okay. And in your project, what you should do is you should define a, you should define a model that you'll use. In this case, I will use a GPT-4 Omni model. So that's the only thing you actually need to do to create an agent. I have this text embedding tree large because this is the embedding model that I use to build my Azure AI service, my Azure AI search service. Okay, so now in this demonstration, I'll show you how to set it up using code. So first and foremost, we have here the functions that our agent will call. So now, since now we're in the age of AI, every time you define your function, it should be intuitive. It's something that if you tell another person what this function is, the person will already know what it actually is. So that's how it should also be also when you're talking or when you're programming using a large language model. Okay, so here we have a function called fetch attractions, and it's actually using a location string. Based on this information, this may seem, what they call this doc string may be documentation for you, but also it is actually documentation for the large language model. Here, you're telling the large language model this function fetches the attractions, places to visit, things to do for a specified location. It's expecting a parameter's location, and it returns an attraction information as a JSON string, in which the return type is of type string. Oops. And then from here, normally you'd put a real world scenario here where you integrate with, sorry, not a weather API, but another API, an API. But in case here, I actually hard-coded for now that, okay, for New York, this is the data. For London, here's the data. For Tokyo, here's the data. Okay. And then from here, we actually, return it in a JSON format. We have fetch weather. In fetch weather, again, we provide the information on what it is. It fetches weather information. And we have here, hard-coded information about the weather for now. But in a normal case, you'd probably search for a weather API, in which case, in my scenario, for reviews, let's say hotel reviews, I'm actually getting an API from TripAdvisor. Then you have here restaurant, fetching restaurants, in which case here I hard-coded specific restaurants that, for example, my company is actually partnered with. And then I have fetch budget. So these are hard-coded budget information in which supposedly you're going to get it from another source. And what I have, this lengthy code here, this lengthy code here actually gets product information from Azure AI Search. So I have a course in LinkedIn that specifically shows you how you can programmatically set this up. But in general, it will get a search client in Azure AI Search. You'll create an Azure OpenAI client. And then from here, you have a system prompt of what this OpenAI client will do. This large language model will do. And then from here, we'll actually do a vector search. Well, actually, it's not a vector search. It's a hybrid search wherein you do semantic, full text, and vector query search using semantic ranker. And then from here, we have a large language model provide the response in which it will provide an answer back. So imagine that this is a multi-agent system because you have another agent here getting information from Azure AI Search and providing an answer. So what's important is you define the functions and then you set a functions list. So these are user functions in which we have the fetch weather, fetch restaurant, fetch budget, fetch attractions, and fetch product information. So let's run the code, by the way. So I forgot to run. So I need to define my functions first. So let's run that. Okay. So that ran. Okay. And then this is where we define the agent. First and foremost, we need to connect to our Azure AI Foundry project. Okay. So we need to get our project connection string. We need to, and this is the magical part here. This lines of code will tell you that, okay, this is my tool set. Remember this user functions list? This one here? We're now going to put it in a function tool, and we're going to provide it in our tool set. Okay. Now this is where we create the agent. So let me run this. Upon creating the agent, we'll specify the model, in which case I have GPT-4 Omni, which is what I deployed here in Azure AI Foundry. I'll name it my agent. And then from here, we'll say you are an AI travel agent that uses the provided functions to help answer questions. And here we'll provide the tool set. This is the only code. This piece of line here will tell the agent that, okay, based on the questions, based on this instruction, get everything from this tool set. Get all the answers there. And that's it. There's no if and else statement. So once we created the agent, if you go to our Azure AI Foundry, so this is my project, the AI Agent Project 001. We have our My Agent here that was created. We created it through code. It's now showing through Foundry. And in the overview tab, this is where we got the project connection string. Okay, so remember in our code, we need a project connection string. Okay, we need a project connection string, and we need our GPT-4 Omni model. And we can use other models here, as I mentioned, that not only Azure OpenAI. Now we create a thread afterwards. So we created the agent. That's step number 1. Well, step 0 is to define the function. Step 2 is to create the agent, in which case the agent will now use these functions. And step 3, we create a thread. So this thread will contain all of our messages. Now, I will not bog you down with this lengthy piece of code. But what I'm in this lengthy piece of code is a helper function to run our agent. But in general, what it does is, number one, it adds messages to the thread. So every time you ask a query, a user input, it will add a message to the thread. Step number 4 is to run the agent. And step number 5, which I showed you in the PowerPoint, is to check the status. I did this lengthy. There's a shorter version of this after here, function calling simple, that shortens this whole interaction. What I wanted to do is to show the long code because I want to, in the output, show you how the agent is actually thinking. Its line of thought when you provide an answer. So it checks the run status, and once it's ready, it will display the agent response. Okay. So let's define that. Now let's ask the question, okay, what are the places I can visit in New York? I'll run this. So here we created the message. We now run the agent. And here we'll see, okay, based on this question, it needs an action. And based on this specific query, it found out that, okay, based on that, we need to use the fetch attractions. What do you call this? Fetch attractions function. And then the location is actually New York. In which case, okay, the attractions are this one. And then from there, based on this raw information, it will provide you a simpler and crisper response. Let's change this a bit. Let's make this NY. NY. So with that, okay, it will run again, create a message, run status, check progress, completed. So it found out already that it's going to use the New York tool. Actually, let's choose another location. Hold on. We have here New York, London. Yeah. So let's say here, let's make this Tokyo, and we'll make it not what do you call this, the improper one. So even if with that one, it already knew that, okay, let's use the fast attractions, let's get Tokyo, and then from here, we provide the Tokyo information. And from here, what is the weather in Tokyo? We run again, create a message, create a run again the agent. So from here, we need the fetch weather tool this time, in which the argument is Tokyo, and then from here, the response is, the weather in Tokyo is currently rainy with a temperature of 22 degrees. So that information came after in our weather information here, in which is rainy 22 degrees. So heading back, provide more questions. So I need a suitcase. What do you have available? Okay, so based on this question, create a message, create a run. It requires an action this time. Okay, we need the fetch product information. And the argument is the user query suitcase. It will now go to Azure A Search, look all the information about all the suitcase available in my index. And then from there, okay, process, and you'll see here are my products, my Globetrotter Elite suitcase, my Nomad Traveler suitcase, my Voyager Pro luggage, in which case, if you look at it, you have the Voyager Pro luggage here, you have the Nomad Traveler suitcase, and you have the Globetrotter Elite suitcase. So these are all in Azure A Search. Yeah, and then what is the budget there? In which case, based on this information, create a message, run it again, get a status, and in which case, okay, it needs this time the fetch budget. Here's the budget information, and then from here. In fact, we can even make it more difficult. I only have $400 US. Where can I go for 3 days? So based on this question, we run again the message, create the run, get the status. And then from here, okay, based on a $400 US budget, in Tokyo, you approximately need $300. For New York, $363. For London, $225. So maybe we should make this longer. Let's put this here, let's say 300 only. So let him decide. If I only have $300, where can I go for 3 days? And let's see where. Okay, so both options will offer $300. Okay, so pretty cool. So it will decide for you. Okay, and then where can I eat in London? And then from here, this time it will determine that you need the fetch restaurant and then get the information in the restaurant in London. And then afterwards, you need to delete your agent to free up resources. So every time you create an agent, you just keep on adding things here. Okay. So this one, I don't even know where this agent 357 came from, to be honest. Okay. So where this in preview. So I'm not sure, or maybe I clicked on, yeah, I'm not sure where this came from. So I will delete this. Okay. What should happen is, at the end of it all, you're supposed to delete your agent programmatically. Don't forget to do that so that when you refresh this, it's gone. Okay. Or you need to manually delete it here in the AI Foundry. So, when I run this in GitHub and I make mistakes in my coding, all of a sudden, if you don't delete it, you just keep on adding and adding up here, and then you'll incur storage costs. No? So you need to be wary about these things. So that's actually a demonstration through code. I can demonstrate it as well. We can create an agent as well here through AI Foundry. But again, this is only for demonstration because you'll not be able to, deploy something if you just set it up here. So I'll create an agent here. I'll show you an agent that will do code interpreter. So here I'll say code interpreter. And then I'll show you what a code interpreter will do. I'll provide it under the actions. I'll click on add actions. And then here you have code interpreter. I'll click on this code interpreter. And what I will do is I will upload two CSV files. Okay, so where's my, hold on, let's go to my test data, my CSV, talk about population. Okay, and I'll upload these two files. I'll show you what these two files will look like in a minute. Let me just upload this a bit. So once I upload this, let me show you what this CSV files look like. Population. Okay. So open this with Excel. So you have here a CSV file which contains population data. And so this is the first one. And then we have a second one. So in the age of AI, when you set up your database or your data sets, your column name should be intuitive. In this case, if I'm showing here the population, the LLM will know that it's the population. Same way with this explaining it with the answer. And here, if you're using UIID in the first table, in the second table, if there's also UIID, so population by country has UID, and then population by admin has UID, it will tell the large language model that, okay, these two CSV files are actually connected based on this actual column. Okay, so that's very important. So I will not save this. I'll close these files for now. So that's what it looks like. So now uploaded it in our system. You see here code interpreter, two files. So here we'll give it instructions. You will use Python to answer questions based on the data set provided to you. Okay. Now, once that is set up, what I'll do is I'll click on try in playground. And from here, you can start chatting. So in this case, okay, what country has the, let's say, 5th highest population? So now it will look for all the information. So here you can see your code interpreter, looking for reference using code interpreter. And here, see here, a set of, things that in Python it will going to do to identify the data set, includes population data broken down. So you can see here all the different things that it's doing. And you can see here some code that it's doing now. Okay, so that's the code. And now the answer is Pakistan with a population of 220 million. Now what I'll do is let's make it more complex. Give me a column chart. that sorts in descending order the countries with the highest population. I want you to put the population data at the top of each column. Okay. So for those who are using Python, obviously to display it needs another set of code. So number one, so this is the question. You can see here, it needs to import matplotlib in order to do the chart. Okay, and then from here, this is the actual data. So you can notice that, well, on the previous run, it already had the population data. So now it's actually getting now, okay, these sets of information. Now let's ask here, okay, how many countries in the data set starts with the letter I, since India is we're now giving a talk for people based in India. So from here, it's looking for, there are 8 countries in the data set. Okay, so this is the actual Python code, and then from there it will do that. So it's showing you the code that is needed in order to solve the problem. Okay, so going back to our presentation, that ends our demonstration on function calling with Azure AI Search through Python, and I also showed you a demonstration on how you can create it with Azure AI Foundry. So again, to demonstrate it, you can use Azure AI Foundry, but to actually deploy it, to build it, you need to use the Azure AI Agent SDK, which I showed you earlier. So just to give you what it looks like, for example, for this function calling, we gave this instruction here. And we created this function here, which I showed you in the code space. And then afterwards, based on a specific user query, what is the weather in New York, the system, using natural language, determined that, okay, we actually need to use the fetch weather tool, and this is the actual argument that we need. And then from here, we actually return the information. So this is what's happening in the back end. Now in the front end, I would like to introduce you to Chainlit. So it's an open source Python package to build production-ready conversational AI applications. What I really like about Chainlit is that it has a built-in chat-like system. We have the onStart, in which when you start an application, it runs the onStart. So imagine this to be for those who are using JavaScript or other frameworks. OnStart is when the application starts. OnMessage is when a person provides a message. OnStop would be if a person interrupts the agent. OnEnd is when the user, for example, ends the whole discussion. So naturally, for example, in OnStart, this is where we're going to build our agent. OnMessage is adding messages to the thread. So the OnStart will create an agent in a thread. OnMessage would be adding messages to the thread. And once you end the conversation, you actually delete the agent, as an example. And it's a lot of ready-made integrations, in which case, I actually didn't use any of these integrations, but there's all of these things. And it's really, easy to customize. So let me show you what that code would look like. So I have here okay. So I have here my code. So I deployed it in another, in another repository. I'll show you my app.py. Okay, so from here, I have here, as you saw, my functions. Okay, so these are my functions. You saw that already through code. This is the run agent helper function, which I showed you also through code. And let's go to the on-chat start. On the on-chat start, we created our connection string. We connected our AI search tool. We created our agent. And from here, we added before we created our agent, we added the different functions. So in this case, I used an Azure AI search tool this time, not the function call to run the Azure AI search. I have an Azure AI search tool in which I added the functions. I even added the AI search tool. And then from there, it will get, we define the agent, and then it's magically doing it. Also, we create the thread in the onStart. During the on message, this is where we run the agent. So every time we run the agent, we pass on the message, we pass on the project client, the thread, and the agent, and then from here we display the response. That's simple. And then on the end, when we close the browser, we delete our agent. Okay, and then here are starters, the starters that you saw. Let's open again the what do you call this? So let's open again the app service. Where is it here? We have our app service here. So you see here, these are the starters. Okay, the ones here below. Okay, so show it to you through our code. Where is that again? Okay, I think I got lost. Hold on, I have so many things open now. Okay, you have it here. So these are starters. So you put in the label, weather queries, then you have a message here, and then you have the icon. So we just put the icon here under public, and we have all of these different icons here. So that's what actually these are for. We have an icon, and then once you click on weather queries, immediately it sends you this message out, and then it will actually call the agent. In which case, so upon loading the website, it's going to go with on start, and then once I sent this, it went to on message, and once I close this, it will delete the agent, and well, I close it immediately, but what will happen is upon opening the what you call this? So it got deleted. So let's do it again. So upon opening here, you'll see here under AF Foundry, my Chainlit agent. And then upon closing, it will delete it. And it's gone. So it gets deleted. Okay. So let me just delete this code interpreter as well so that I don't want to incur any more cost. So that's how we should manage all of these things. So that's Chainlit for you. It's actually a good information about it. You can go to Chainlit. You can just search online Chainlit. Sorry, not Chainlit Python. Yeah, Chainlit Python Quick Start. You can see here a quick start on how you can set this up immediately with a few lines of code. Just this line of code, you have your own, chat application already. So I can go here in this website. And now you'd probably be wondering, so going back to our presentation, how did we implement it in Azure App Service? So what is Azure App Service? With Azure App Service, you can run web applications, mobile backends, and RESTful APIs without worrying about managing the underlying infrastructure. So you can typically, set up your own virtual machine and set up, your own website and host it in a virtual machine, but you need to manage all those infrastructure and all of that. With the Azure App Service, Microsoft Azure will do that for you. And it supports a wide variety of web stacks, in which case we are going to be we use Python throughout. So we are using Python here, so the Python stack. And then if the app is containerized, you can deploy it as a custom container, in which case I did deploy it in a custom container. So let me show you what that would look like through code. So here, going back to, you know what? Let me close this. I'm getting confused on all the all the browsers that they have now. So not that one here. So going back here to our code, this is my Docker file, so in which I'm using this container, so as a Python container, and you need to specify your requirements.txt, in which case it needs Azure A projects, Azure Identity, and the Chainlit code. Chainlit library. I have my startup file here, in which case every time I start up, it will run this one. So yeah, and then yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I have my .md file here, which I did not even populate, and I have my code here, which practically contains all the code. And I hosted it in Azure App Service. So what happens is there's actually a DevOps setup here. So every time I'm modifying the code here, so let's say I will update my application here in GitHub, what will happen is if I go to my app service, let me open again my app service, which I closed it previously. So let's say I go to my app service. All you need to do is to go to, I think I forgot. I said, yeah, it's configuration. So number one, you have your environment variables here. So these are my environment variables that is in my .env file. So notice in my code here, let's go back to the code. You're actually, hold on as an example. I have here, okay, project connection string, get env project connection string. So I need to get, obviously you don't want to put, your keys and endpoints in your code. So you need to put it somewhere and putting it in my environment file. And then you need to specify it here through the Azure App Service. So that's number one thing. You need to set up your environment variables here. And then under configuration, so as I mentioned, let's say I will be changing the application here. I modify the code here. I add stuff here that I want, additional capabilities. What will happen is here, not here, but here you'll see here the startup command, which I set up. It's using Python. Okay. Yeah, deployment center. So here, once you click sync, what will happen is it will automatically get from my repository the updated code and deploy it here again and then update the whole website. So that's practically the beauty of how this is occurring right now. All right. So what are the takeaways from this session? Number one, you can perform more complex tasks with agents now. You can provide it custom knowledge. You can provide it actions to meet various business needs. You can actually demonstrate these capabilities now with Azure AI Foundry, the portal. And then from there, if you want to deploy it, you can easily do so with the Azure AI Agent SDK. And using Chainlit and Azure App Service, you can deploy this in a production setting. So before I hand over to you guys for any question and answer, what are the next steps? One, you can learn all of these through Microsoft Learn. So there's an Azure AI Agents section in Microsoft Learn. Just search it out. Even the Python SDK or even .NET. If you're a .NET programmer, you can do so. This QR code here can actually help you build your first agent using Azure AI Agent Service. But bear with me, it's not using the same code that I have because what I have is something that is using my own set of data. So here is using a different set of data, and I'm not sure if it's in Chainlit. I'm not sure if they're using Chainlit here, or it's not even deployed in Chainlit, I think, or it's not even deployed in an app service. So mine, what I showed you was a complete end-to-end, demonstrated in a production setting. For this one, it will show you how to do it at least through the notebook. Yeah, it will show you also. I remember now. It will show you through Chainlit. But only in your code space, in your local machine, not hosted in app service. And I have another course I'd like to show you because what we did earlier was just a single agent. You can't do a multi-agent system right now with Azure AI Agent Service. Right now, the recommendation, if you go to Microsoft Learn, if you want to do a multi-agent system, you need to use Semantic Kernel, which is the production-ready stable SDK of Microsoft, or Autogen, which is the state-of-the-art, more advanced features, but using community support. So it's really up to you to decide on what you want to use. And I do have a course here in LinkedIn. So if you click on this, if you scan this QR code, you'll be able to see